session speaking about investment, yeah, and industry. We have two examples from Africa and one from America. From Sudan, Adil speak about how the people can use the money they are saving here and how they can innovate investment and industry, and using those, and this related to a national policy of the country itself. So by that way, we can develop industry, we can develop say, and we can put it in that track. And the North African experience is another experience for the Maghreb, for the doctor here, about the innovation, because the immigration of the North African is mostly in Europe, not like us in the Gulf or other places here. And it is nearby, their countries. But due to certain political problems here between the people who are outside and inside. In Algeria, I remember 30 years ago, some of the Algerians who are in Algeria, they are telling the people, the Algerians who are in France, you are the France people, you are not Algerian. And this is a conflict of interest. But now it is a little bit low. And they use the knowledge because they have studied here in the University of Europe, they try to use this for making companies. And he gave an example of famous companies that was established in the Maghreb, or the North Africa. The American example, I pick from that the remedies, because, and he referred to the point that we did, we mentioned it in the early session, of a global fund for mobilizing the remedies of the immigrants in the world to make big companies. But I think with the globalization and with the control of the big countries of the economy, that will not be in the recent future will happen. So we'll open the avenue for questions and give the chairman.
My name is Adil Al-Tijani. I live in Paris. Well, I've been listening to very interesting papers today since the morning until now, and many presenters touch on the fact that let me put it this way. Okay, we talked about doctors, for example, migrating, and in this way, we don't have doctors in Sudan. Interesting. We talked about lack of equipment, medical equipment. Great. This is a disaster. But with the immigration of every doctor, we don't lose only a doctor. We lose the social agency of that doctor. We lose the values of that doctor. In the 1990s, huge immigration from Sudan to all over the world happened, similar to what happened in El Salvador. So, big chunk of the values traveled abroad, and a value or a gap of values happened. Sudanese will notice that we have a problem of generation continuity. Our generation, when we left, okay, the new generation that came after us, they're not connected with us. So there is a value problem, values problem. So my worry is not only about a doctor going out or lack of equipment, it's how to bring back the values or bring even better values. If we have good people, good values, I would say, okay, we'll have better policymakers who will make better industrial strategies and implement it. If we have better values, we will have no corruption. So how can we help in that as diaspora? What can we do? It's not about sending money and sending equipment or visiting doctor going every year. How can we build that value that we lost? Thank you.
Just to add on, so sorry. This is for everyone. The Ibrahim Musa wanted to thank Raul for his very funny and informative talk, but she wanted to know how we can bring this model to Sudan and in some way lift the sanctions that are in place, and how to maybe to go around these sanctions in order to make a model like Professor Hinojosa's model work. Yes?
Okay, I think I'll comment on the, Dr. Abdel first, and then give the mic to Professor Raul to answer the second question. I think Adil has actually touched on a very important thing, which is the intangible impact of immigration on our countries of origin. What we have been concentrating on so far is the tangible sort of thing, the effect on the economy, the effect on industry, and that is a very serious problem. And it is happening. It is not an imaginary thing. And to me, to start actually addressing that, we need first to recognize that there is a problem. Yes, which is a problem, because I'm not really sure if everybody is serious about this. And then, in my view, the responsibility of addressing that is actually shared responsibilities between the diaspora themselves, the regimes in the country of origin, and the host countries. I think the problems which we may be creating through this intangible impact must be more deeper and severe than the economical ones. However, and this is why I said, actually I was trying to touch on this in my speech, but unfortunately I didn't have time. But generally speaking, I think I said the role needs to be recognized by everybody, in particular by the regimes in the countries of origin for us. And they should really seek to talk to the host countries as well, okay? And then the diaspora can have an effective role in influencing and lobbying the host countries, and those countries, once their role is defined and recognized, they can have an influencing impact on the policies generally and on these sort of impacts again. However, for that to happen, the diaspora themselves need to organize themselves, in institutions, in organizations, which speak for them. Because even here, for example, we are all diaspora here, but there is no actual body speaks on our behalf. If, the present government today wants to talk to us about problems in Sudan, who should they contact? I know they can contact Professor Allam, but he is individual only. He doesn't represent everybody. So we need to have some effective institutions to try to bring about a solution for everyone. And that solution needs to work for everyone. And therefore, there must be mutual benefit to all of us. The host countries, although they are rich countries, they are suffering from global economic downturn, and they are seeking opportunities abroad. And that abroad is very general. They can go far, far away, even to Africa, to outsource, production, to do anything. If they see opportunities there, they will go for it. The countries of origin should, at least in theory, have an interest in improving the living standard of their citizens. The diaspora should really try to avoid this, sort of cultural gap or moral gap, which we talked about, and therefore they are also interested in finding a solution, going back to their countries and invest there, and actually be ambassadors to the host countries.
Is there any more innovative solution than going back? I don't want to go now.
No, you don't have to go back. You don't have to go back, but you can be an influential body in actually improving the situation in our countries.
This is a fascinating conversation, because I'll tell you, right now I'm on the board of directors of a national organization in the United States of hometown associations. Like 20,000 hometown associations. So this village here in El Salvador has its own hometown association that put together this project. That's the name of their hometown association. So this whole development project was financed, and these are, by the way, engineers, doctors, restaurant workers, mothers, everybody. Okay, not just the elite. It's everybody. Because guess what? Everybody who cleans sends the remittances. That's even more money than what the doctors are making and sending, right? So there are hometown associations, okay, that networks of hometown associations connected each one of them to their villages, and they have political influence in El Salvador, all right? There is elected members of the parliament in El Salvador and Mexico. Actually, even every state elects from the United States representatives of the diaspora that sits and does policy. I mean, your question actually is what prompted a lot of what I do, right? I could have been very happy being a professor at Stanford, forget about Latin America. But what we did, we developed the technology with the villages in mind. That you could do. You couldn't do that if you stayed in El Salvador, right? But you do have an obligation, I feel, having lived this transnational life, to now really take technology in a completely different way. Because the people in Silicon Valley will never do this. The people in El Salvador will never do this. It is incumbent on us, the transnational populations, that stand up and take a commitment, right? And to innovate in new knowledge. It's not just knowledge transmitting from the rich country to the poor country. No, it's creating a completely new type of knowledge, right? Which is, how do you use advances in different parts of the world? You're learning now about, California has nothing to do with either Sudan or England, but might be extremely useful, right? How do we innovate in these new ways? I mean, I lived in Dubai for many years. I originally developed this whole technology to working with the immigrants in the Gulf areas, right? But I'll tell you, the banks in the Gulf were not ready for this, right? They were not ready. So then I went back to the Americas where we developed the entire thing, with the notion that it will come back. I mean, obviously, if you can imagine, the Middle East, all right, and the amount of remittances, right? And we know this, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, the amount of immigrants and the remittances going back. But all of that is in cash. And guess what? That's worse. There's something even worse. It's not just not sending money home. It's sending money home, which only creates greater dependency, right? That's what's worse, okay? So we must transform these interchange into really sustainable activities. That's the critical thing, and that's what we have to do.
I guess this is the end of the session. We would allow one of the ladies, but then بدي كان. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Abir Abdul Salam from Sudan Embassy. First of all, thank you. I'm Abir Abdul Salam from Sudan Embassy. Okay. Thank you very much. Am I all right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like first to send the thanks and gratitude from Ambassador Tom and His Excellency's apology for not able to attend today. He actually started his journey from central London to here, but he's stuck in the traffic because there is a bride, as you know. They're expecting 2 million people, and thank you again, and I'm very glad to attend part of the sessions, although my ambition was to attend all the sessions, but thank you again. I would like to comment on and thank Professor Raoul for his funny and informative session. And we are happy to hear good news that some developing countries' numbers are rising, not just on diseases and poverty. GDP is, and as you said, you are taking over. Thank you very much again. And thank you, our professor from Algeria, for the information. And I thank you again, my professor, for stressing on the losses and gains, in contrast with gains of migration in Sudan, from Sudan. And I would like to say that, yes, there is a brain drain for skilled personnel from Sudan. And it's not just as some countries are starting to compensate that with remittance being sent back to their home countries. In Sudan, the situation was a bit special because there is some constraints and barriers of sending these remittance to Sudan because of the political and economic sanction against Sudan, hoping that will be better in the coming future, recent coming future. And the migration problem has been addressed in the global health strategy for Sudan that been addressed in 2017, where there is a call for a holistic approach toward human resources for health in particular, because it's been an issue being raised by the Ministry of Health and other departments. The global health strategy is not just addressing the human resources issues, but also environment and health security issues. Thank you again, Dr. Bashmuhandis Dafa'allah, and it's always a pleasure to listen to you. I will take your recommendation forward for having the need to have an industrial strategy, and I will be happy to work with you to make that happen, and I might contact you to go forward for that. I didn't been able to attend all the first session, although it was my pleasure to hear part of the comments. And what I understand that there is an argument about the priority setting and which need to be addressed very basic or special services. I remember I've been talking to Professor Mu'izz Bakhid, if he's still here or he left already. Thank you again, Professor. It's glad to meet you today. And I still reiterate our call for your center, specialized center in the personalized medicine. And we started the talk with IGAD, and they have been asking about you and how we could take that forward. And yeah, of course. As they are asking if you are still interested to work on it, and I'm opening the door again to go forward. It's the benefit of these conferences that we meet together and taking our ideas forward and doing for practical steps. For the priority setting, I understand the argument, and for our situation where we are trying to accommodate our challenges and needs toward our limited resources. And I also interested to sit with you, Dr. Muna. That's you always my role model, my personal role model. I remember that when I graduated from medical school, and I'm sharing a personal story. So I told my mother that I would like to be specialized in community medicine, and she said, "Are you leaving the hospitals? I'm going to doing a paperwork." I said, "Okay, Dr. Muna is doing it." He said, "It needs to be very good stuff." So thank you very much for paving our way to a very important discipline. And this is the role of our seniors and diaspora, that not just working in a technical work, but showing us the way in an innovative way, in a good and reflecting the good model outside or even inside. The role of diaspora is not just transferring knowledge, it's transferring also values and guiding our youth and our people inside to the new initiative and ideas. Thank you very much for inviting me here, and I'm sorry I need to leave maybe a bit earlier, but hopefully I will see you all again.
I guess as a specialist in migration, I would like to put my words in. You are talking about ethics and values of your generation and the gap that was created. That was a result of so many circumstances taking place in Sudan. Part of them is the war, part of them is the deterioration of the rural areas, that agriculture became an expelling profession, and people came to Khartoum to sell small things on the road instead of going and cultivating their lands. Sorry?
Cigarette lighters.
Cigarette lighters. Anyway, when you want to destroy a nation, you destroy its education. When you destroy the education, that nation will be gone. What happened to the Sudan? The network, the social network, and the family network has been distracted because the society was preoccupied with breadwinning, rush to earn their living. Those who are looking after their children, they have no time to spare to teach their children the ethics and the values of the society. The grandmother who used to tell the stories is no longer there because we are scattered all over the world. So our children will not have any time or any luck to listen to their grandmother, to hear nice stories about how to be good, how to be brave, and other things. Therefore, our society, as families, we are already scattered because we run to hunt for our food. And as a society, we are scattered because we are all over the world. So in fact, there is a complete displacement of people in the Sudan. Those who were in the cities went out of the country, except few, and those who were in the rural areas came to the cities with different values, with different norms. They come from different parts, with different lifestyles. So there is a complete displacement. And this complete displacement would include, apart from people, would include the ethics and values and the style of life. Therefore, this gap of ethics would never be filled unless you give the chance to the professionals to establish a new educational system. And in this system, starting from the youngsters up to the university, the ethics and values you want and the beliefs you want them to grow up with should be infiltrated in these curriculums taught to them from primary to the university. And also the media should play a very major role. And on top of that, the social organizations and the NGOs and all of them, they have to come together to spread the words about behaving nicely, about combating corruption, about governance, about transparency. Unless this happens, nothing will be changed. And you cannot also address people who are already hopeless. You have to give them a glimpse of hope. And then with this glimpse of hope, you start to infiltrate what you are saying. But for someone who is disappointed and have no any light at the end of the tunnel, they are all hopeless. And they are all disappointed. They are not willing to do anything. Even the normal style of life in the Sudan now is changed. If someone found a brick on the road, he will not pick it and put it aside. He doesn't care. He only cares about himself. He will jump it and go. That's it. So that's what I'm saying.
May I? Yes, okay. Yes, Prof.
It's not just to react to this value issue. Well, thanks very much, my colleague Adl, because I think it's really a key issue. And we have been living with different ways and questioning, raising questions around it, but we haven't really the right solution. And you are perfectly right. And when I was talking about taboos earlier, in fact, one of the reasons why these taboos still persist and exist is because there is a clash of values. Also, this is what makes this not misunderstanding. Because both camps are of different values. And indeed, it is a battle to take. So I think my colleague talked about intangible. Yes, you're right. It is immaterial and intangible capital. You have the technological, you have the financial, you have the intangible capital. So that's part of knowledge base. So how to transfer this intangible capital from diaspora to home to the home country? It is a major challenge. So what they need there is to have role models. And we, in our network, we thought that the best way is to invest in young people, youngsters. Yes. Because not the old ones, with all due respect. Yes. They're already but the young people are being in the process of being educated. So we've been for the last 15 years hosting young researchers and doctoral students, not only for various periods, starting from two weeks to 18 months, various regimes. We have had about 400 people who came to our lab in Lille University, basically not only to acquire knowledge, but also to acquire values and ethical values in the academic sphere. Yes. We thought that this is the best way to impregnate them with values, and then when they go back, at least if they don't replicate, they have some little thing which is disturbing them. How do they face a new environment with different attitudes? And I'm sure it is giving some minor results. This is one solution. Thank you.
Right. I guess this is the end of the session according to the timetable of the conference organizers. Thank you very much.